Well, very good evening to all of you. Happy to be here once again with you all. Today we have our satsang from Rays of the One Light, as we usually do. So let me read today's topic, which is a very interesting one. So it's called The Eternal Love. By the way, those who may not know, this book was written by Swami Ananda, and he gives parallel commentaries between the Bhagavad Gita and the Christian Bible, the New Testament, and he compares them and shows how they are really talking about the same thing. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The following commentary is based on the teachings of Paramahansa Yogananda. When will I find God? Many devotees have asked this question. Because worldly goals require time, usually, for their fulfillment, we imagine time to be a factor on the spiritual path. And so it is, but only because we think it is. God is as much with us now as He will ever be. It is not He who needs to come to us, we need to come to Him. And that process of coming is a matter of transforming our self-perception. In the Gospel of St. John, chapter 4, Jesus Christ says, Say not ye, there are yet 4 months, and then cometh harvest? Behold, I say unto you, lift up your eyes, and look on the fields, for they are white, already to harvest. There is a practical teaching in these words, apart from their statement that we have God already, and we have only to realize that truth. Jesus is saying, lift up your eyes and look. To hold the eyes uplifted is the best position for meditation, for the seat of superconsciousness lies at the point midway between the eyebrows, in the frontal lobe of the brain, just behind that point. This point is known also as the Christ Center. By lifting up your eyes and concentrating there, you will find it easier to enter the state of ecstasy. That is why saints in every religion have often been observed during states of deep inner communion with their eyes uplifted, focused on the inner light, white, as Jesus said, are ready to harvest. The Bhagavad Gita goes further into this meditative teaching in the 6th chapter. It states, holding the spine firm, the neck and head erect and motionless, let the yogi focus his eyes at the starting place of the nose, the point between the eyebrows. Let not his gaze roam elsewhere. In meditation, tell yourself, I have him already. I am alive forever in the divine light. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Now we come to the topic called the eternal now. And it's something that I find a little bit hard to talk about, especially since I myself, of course, I'm stuck in the delusion of time like everybody else. So it's not something that I can talk so much from experience of living in the eternal now. But we have learned that through all the spiritual teachings that time really is an illusion. There is no such thing as past or future. In fact, Yogananda, his poem Samadhi, says, present, past, future, no more for me, but ever present, all flowing I everywhere. And this delusion, of course, it comes because, God has manifested Himself in everything in creation. His thoughts, His consciousness is manifested everywhere. So when we become one with Him, of course, we become one with everything, because we are part of that same reality. We are already that, of course, because if you could say we are made of God consciousness, everything is made of that. We are part of that already. That's the only reality. We just have to somehow realize it. Now there is a very nice, very powerful statement that Yogananda said, 2 powerful statements. First he said, in a little piece of thought rests the cosmic lot. Rub that thought away and the universe goes away. but only it's in our thoughts that we have this illusion that we are stuck. But then to complement this statement, one time there was a devotee that went to Yogananda and said, "Sir, if I say I am free, I will not be free, right?" And then Yogananda said, "Oh yes, you would be free. But you see, you answer your own question. You say, I wouldn't be. Because the mind is already tricking itself. Whenever the problem with many affirmations is that we affirm something, but in the back of our mind we're saying, I'm not really that. No, it's not true. But Yogananda was saying, if you put your whole mind, your whole feeling, your whole energy into that one affirmation of I am free, like we were singing today, you would be free. If you can break just that little delusion of thought, you will be free. Now, isn't that amazing? That tells you the power of thought right there. How much power thought have over us. We think, powerful people, are the ones that can lift the heaviest weight and all these things, but no. Those who have control over their mind, they have much more power because thought is a much subtler force than energy or than physical matter. So it is bound to be much more powerful. As it is that when, a car, we can move it with physical strength, and, we get some result. You were doing that just now? And it becomes difficult. But the cars, we know they work more with electricity. That is much subtler than, just pushing it or having a horse pull it for you. And because we use subtler forces, we can go much faster. So thought is much subtler force than energy, and it is much more powerful. Now, coming back to this in the eternal now, it's funny, because if you think of it, very few people live in the present. I mean, including ourselves, let's face it, very few live a lot in the present, let's just put it that way. Most people's thoughts, even in meditation, so many times we try to meditate, but we are thinking about what we are going to do later. We are thinking of some mistake we did in the past. We are always kind of going into the future and into the past all the time. Even while working, working and concentrating in the task at hand is one of the main ways for us to be in the present, you could say. But most people, they work because they want results. And by wanting those results, they are already living in the future, because they're expecting those results to come to them. So even in that, most people are not really living in the present, you see? They're not living in the moment, with that joy that comes by living in the moment. And, time has always been something fascinating for me, very fascinating, since I was a little kid. Of course, I don't understand all the intricacies, but I like to see many times what science is saying, and of course the yogis we know, as if I remember correctly, the way Swamiji explained that time is not a line like people tend to think. It's more of a circle. And when you are in timelessness, of course you can go into the middle of that circle and you have access to any point of time that you want. We know that, great masters have been known to predict the future like nothing. We know the book of Brigu that tells that he wrote it like thousands of years ago, telling the lives of people right now. Because they had that access. They were in timelessness, and from that timelessness, they could go everywhere in the dream. Anyway, not to get too technical here, but it is so amazing because we are always living like that. And if you think of it just in a logical way, there is not such thing as past or future. Because whatever happened. It's not that you can go there and do something. Even if you were able to go there, you will still be in the present. And your point of reference, it will still be the present. It will not be the past anymore. Same thing is you were able to travel in the future. From now we call it the future, but once you are there, it's your present. So even from that logical point of view, we are always in the present. So how much energy we always waste. Now, it is not to say that it is not important to think about the future or think about the past. Saints are not stupid, but the problem is, we can look at the past and we can learn a lot from the past. If we make a mistake, yes, we can forget it and we can say, okay, I'll move on. That's wonderful. But if we learn from it and move on, it's even better. Looking at the past, we can learn from it. looking at the future, we can also, prepare ourselves a little bit for, maybe hard times that are going to come in our lives. So it's good that we prepare ourselves. But the problem is most people, when they look at the past, they live in regret. How many times, I know it happens to me, that I did something very shameful in school or in high school. And sometimes I bring it back to my mind and I still feel ashamed. It's like, oh my God, how is that even possible? But so it happens that most people, they live like that. Or like, once that day comes, finally I make it. Again, living, expecting the future like that. It's then that we get the real problem, because that means we are not satisfied with what's going on right now. Now, Krishna gives us, and Jesus gives us one of the best tools to remain in the present, which is, of course, meditation. If you meditate properly and you are not thinking of all those things that we were talking about, of course. And this brings to mind a little thing that maybe many of you have seen it before, but I remember, I think it was in Facebook, it was flying around a little cartoon that it had like, it was kind of a fair, I would guess, and there were 3 little tables. The one on the left, it had, a lady dressed like a witch, like that, and in the top said like past life regression. And there was a big queue of people, all piled up trying to see who were they in the past. Then on the right there was one, like, a lady dressed all mystically with a crystal ball, looking all mystical. And it says, fortune telling, what is in the future. Again, huge queue. In the middle table, you can imagine, there was a lady, it said, meditation, and it was empty. And the lady was saying, anybody for the present moment, It's incredible how concerned we are with all these things. But I'll go a little bit into this in the future, about this point. Now I wanted to tell, because yes, meditation is one of the things, but we always talk about meditation. So I wanted to talk about something else, which we also talk about a lot, but still. But I wanted to tell a story on master's lessons. There was this village, a little village, where some saints used to live there. And they lived very blissfully. They used to, eat fruits from the trees. They used to drink water just from the springs that they came right there. And they were always enjoying God, very uplifted all the time. And one of these saints, or saintly person, decided one day, I would like to experience this world as, a king will do it, in a royal way, just for a day. And this kind of desire, which must have been in a very pure way if he was a real saint, more of a curiosity more than anything, more than a real desire probably, he decided to go out of the village and try to see if he could fulfill this wish of living a royal life for a day, as a king would do, and feel like the enjoyment that he would feel. And he was praying, divine, Heavenly Father, help me accomplish this, I want to experience this only for one day. And so he was walking, and he came by, a castle, a big mansion, a castle. And he said, my prayer is come true. So he right away walks in, and the guards don't stop him. And he roams through the gardens, and he sees nobody there. And he's enjoying everything. And then he goes to the banquet table, and he says there is a warm, nice meal waiting there. And he's like, so blissful, the Heavenly Father wants me to enjoy this meal. He really wants me to fulfill this desire. And so he goes to the royal bath and takes a bath, and he dresses all nicely, and he goes and starts enjoying the meal. Now the servants, they were just outside, gambling or something. And then they come back in, and then, who are you? Why are you taking, our master's meal? The king's meal. And the man says, he's very calm still, and very calmly he says, I am a friend of the great king, and he wants me to enjoy this meal and, sleep in the royal chambers and all that. And they were like, okay, they saw he was very calm and very said, "Oh, very well, keep on going." They didn't know that the great king was, of course, the divine king, not their king. So he was not lying, he was saying a truth. Anyway, and then after the meal, he just went to the royal chambers and just went to sleep. Now, while he was sleeping, there's a messenger that came. The servants had told the man that the king was out hunting. As somehow in these stories, always the kings go out hunting for some reason. But the messenger came and told the servants, the king will be late now. He'll be here in 3 hours. You know. I said, but didn't the king send this friend of his, to enjoy it? And then they realized that he was actually not supposed to be there, and they got really outraged. So what they decide to do, as people tend to do for some reason, they decide to take some sticks and go and beat the guy up. And so they were beating him up with sticks and wake him up, and he was being beaten up. And the saint was just laughing and laughing and laughing, and that annoyed him even more. And until they could not tolerate it anymore, so they knocked him unconscious and just threw him out of the castle. And then there is this part of the story that many of you know, that one of his friends came and picked him up and brought him back to the village and was feeding him some milk. And then when he started opening his eyes, they asked the saint, "Do you recognize who is feeding you?" And the saint answered, "Yes, the same person who beat me up earlier." He saw that oneness with everybody, so for him there was no difference between those men and these other saints. Anyway, as the things unfolded, the king came back, of course, and he was outraged. His meal was not there, So he asked, and he decided, why was this saint laughing when he was being beaten up? And this perplexed him so much that he told his servant, "Go and don't come until you find him." And they were all searching and searching and searching, and they could not find him until they got near the village and they could hear his laughter, so that laughter that they knew so well, that very big laughter. So they came and kidnapped the guy, you could say, and brought him to the king. Now, when he was in front of the king, he was laughing, and laughing even louder and louder, much more and much more and much more, until the king was asking him, "Why were you laughing when we were beating you up?" He was still laughing and kept laughing. The king gave up and said, "Please, if you tell me why you were laughing, I'll give you my whole kingdom." So desperate he was to know the secret. And then after that, after seeing the king being humble, he stopped laughing and very seriously said, "I had this desire to enjoy all this as a king. And in that process, I forgot God. And I got out of it very easily, very cheaply, you could say, because I only got beaten up a little bit, and that was the price I had to pay just to forget God for one day, But then I cannot imagine a person like you, who is enjoying this every day, never thinking of God at all, how much, in one way or the other, you will have to suffer." And of course the king But isn't it? But that's a very serious message right there. Yogananda said that the only free will we have is either to turn towards God or to reject Him. That's the only free will we have. And how many times do we forget God? How many times we forget even to live in joy, to live in happiness, to be happy? We know happiness doesn't depend on anything outside of ourselves. If you are able to live in the present, you will find happiness at every moment. And so it is that we have to use our God-given free will to remember Him evermore. And that is a way that we can very consciously live in the present. Now, it's very nice to say, but it is not just like that, remembering God, Swamiji gave a very nice explanation of grace, and I'm sure you all have heard it before. But it's something he will say so often that probably we also had to remember it so often, so it finally gets ingrained in our heads. He said, Grace is always there. Always there. It only depends if we are open to receive it or not, if we will feel it. And he gave the example of the sunshine in the side of a building. If the curtains are shut, the sunshine or the grace will not enter. The more you open the curtains, the more that sunshine or that grace will flow, and you will feel it. And so it is with us, that really anything that we do is just to open ourselves to that flow of grace. And yes, meditation is one of the ways to open ourselves to that grace. But have you not realized that many times, or certainly it happens to me, that the most times you feel that grace is when you go outside of yourself, when you help some stranger, when you smile to a stranger, when you try to share a little bit of your joy with a stranger or with a fellow friend. You realize that whenever you give to others more, the more that grace will flow through you, the more you will be flooded by that grace. And I think we all have had this experience, I certainly have had, that sometimes maybe we are feeling very bad, physically very bad, or even emotionally very bad. But if we had to be a class, or if we had to be with other people, or if we had to in some way give energy to somebody else, we forget about it, we concentrate about giving to them, and all the headaches are gone. Everything is gone. How many times, it happens that before a lecture, I'm not feeling very well. But then when I go to the lecture, not now, but when I go to the lectures, all of a sudden in that flow of giving, everything gets forgotten and I feel fine. But it's not only with lectures, it's with anything. Whenever you concentrate in giving, it is only when I'm in my room and I just think, oh, I feel bad, oh, I should go to bed. It's only then that I feel the worst. And I think we all can relate to that in some way, because in some way we're opening ourselves to that flow. And that is something we want to do every moment. Thinking, having God in our thoughts every moment, now, and that will flow to us. Now, there is a fun story. I don't remember, I heard this very long time ago, but somehow I still remember it. I never found this story. But it was of a man who was doing steady spiritual progress. And you know how it is, the devil, Satan, saw this man was making spiritual progress, so he said, no, that cannot happen. You have to stay stuck in Maya, in delusion. So he sent one of his minions. Okay, that man, you go and disturb him in some way so that he doesn't advance spiritually anymore. So this little devil, he decided, okay, he gets up every day at 5, meditates for a couple hours, and then has his breakfast and goes to work. Easy. I'll just, break his alarm clock, or deactivate it so he doesn't wake up. And so he does that, and he's very proud. And at the end of the day, he goes back to the main devil, you could say. Of course, this is not literally true. And he tells the main devil, I did this, so it's over, And what do you mean it's over? You made things even worse. What are you talking about? He was not able to meditate. I saw it myself that he just had to go and rush to work. I said, yes, but because of that, all the time in his mind he was telling, God, why did you do that? Why did you do that? All the time in his mind, he was, blaming God or talking to God like, why? How could you do this to me? I'm your devotee. And then in his next meditation, because he had missed the first one, he went even deeper, And of course, that is a wise devotee. That Yogananda used to say, just talk to God, Even if you are doing something wrong, blame him. Because he only wants us to be with him, to give him some attention at least. Even if it's only blaming, at least we are giving him some attention. Of course, we want to give him credit for everything, not only the bad things. I do the good things and God does the bad. No, that's ridiculous. That is very ridiculous. But so it is that we have to more and more have this consciousness with us. That is a way to live in the present. That all the time we keep that conversation. That it doesn't have to be with words. In the end, it will be just a matter of feeling. That you are feeling that connection all the time happening to you. when you live in that inner joy, you're always living in the present. Because that's the only time it can happen, you see? And then the last thing I wanted to mention, because it's something that I repeat so often, but is so encouraging, and it's what Sri Yukteswar was saying, and I'm sure all of you know it. But keep remembering that. He said, the past of all men are dark with many shames. Everything in the future will improve if you make the right spiritual effort now. It doesn't matter what we did in the past. Don't be concerned of, your spiritual progress or what, when will God come to me and all. Don't be concerned about that. Just be concerned of doing your spiritual effort now. And everything will take care of itself. You will learn from the past. You will be able to, redeem yourself, so to speak, for your mistakes. And then the future will take care of itself. Now, I just remember a little story that it was pretty funny to me, so I'm going to tell it to you. You know how it is in the spiritual path? That when you start becoming serious about it, whenever you do something wrong, consequences happen much faster. Because you're trying to better yourself. So one will think the divine sees that. So whenever you do something wrong, almost instantly, sometimes you get the repercussions. Whenever you get too excited about anything, disappointment will come very fast. I have two stories actually. One time we were going to Mumbai, and there was one of the monks, and we used to go to Subway to get a sandwich. And in Subway there is a special. There's every day a special that is cheaper than that day you get the special is cheaper than it usually is. And this fellow brother, he saw that the special Subway was the one he liked. It was corn and peas. And just looking at the door, he was so excited. Corn and peas isn't special today. And as he opened the door, the guy at the counter was like this, right away. We don't have that today. Instant karma, right? But this other story that I was going to say, again in Mumbai, we went to a devotee's house, and that devotee is a Kriyavan, a long-time Kriyavan. And it's mango season right now, no? So people get all excited about mangoes. But this man, he had bought a bunch of Alfonso mangoes, and he had a high cabinet, so nobody could see, I guess, or steal, I don't know. And he had put straw on the top of it, and arranged all the Alfonso mangoes very nicely. We came to him, like, Bada, have you seen the mangoes? Get the ladder, go and see. He was so happy about them. And he had like 40, 50, something like that, he had like a farmhouse. And he was so happy. And he gave me like 4 or so to enjoy, to bring back to Pune, to share. And then, again, I come back home, and I start opening them. And I see inside, disgusting. I never seen something so disgusting. They were all rotten from the inside. and then I get word from him, like, all his mangoes were like that. All of them. Actually, I was the lucky one, because one of the ones I had cut, it had a little part that was good, and it was very good. And he told me I was, because all the rest were all bad. And so it is, when we get all excited about these things, when we put so much faith in this world, it is bound to disappoint us. When we live in the expectancy of the future, it is bound to disappoint us like that. Be in the present. Make the right spiritual effort now. Because who knows? Maybe tonight in your meditation, it will be that day. You never know. You should always go with that expectancy. Why not? Isn't that our goal? Every day, go and try for that. Because it's bound to come. It's bound to come. And it will come to all of us. The comforting thing is that, as Swamiji often said, it is the only thing that is bound to happen. Everything else, no. But this is the only, it doesn't matter how long it takes us. Because again, it's a delusion. It is the only reality, and it's the only thing that, it is the only end for all of us. And there's no other reality, and there will never be another reality. So live more in that reality within yourself at every moment. Okay? Onwards.